They can shut anywhere. Bin Laden. Let's go to James in Portland. Hey, James, welcome to the Lars Larson Show.
Hi.
Hi, what's on your mind?
Oh, I thought I would talk a little bit about the Rain Man.
Oh, the Rain Man, he bowed out on us today. That was kind of sad. We hope to talk to him today on the day before he goes back to jail.
Yeah, it's a case study in how the laws of Oregon have become sort of completely complex and ambiguous and trap people in them. But, at common law for hundreds of years, unless you were pulling water out of a channel with running water, you had a right to collect diffuse water that was scattered on the ground.
I would think you should be. And this seems, now I've had other people say to me, oh no, that man's collecting it from little streams. But if we're talking about a stream or just the general, direction that water flows across a slope on a property, if that's all he's capturing, it ought to belong to him and not the state of Oregon.
Yeah, and one thing that people don't realize, I've been litigating against the government for my entire life in these environmental contexts, and we now have an emerging bureaucratic state that defines streams as things that don't actually contain any running water.
Yeah.
So when they say, oh well, there's channels, that may mean nothing more than a low spot between two hills. It doesn't mean that there's ever any water running in it, or maybe once during the worst rain of the entire year, you got a couple inches of rainwater there. That's not the constantly running water that people care about.
You ought to see when I go up hunting in the fall, and I'm with Rex Christensen and Kenny Mitchell out there in eastern Oregon, and we'll drive up next to a draw, and it is bone-dry gravel. And they'll say, yep, that's a stream according to the state of Oregon. And I'll say, how often does it have water in it? Because you can tell there's water in there from time to time. You can see its effects on the sand and the rock and all that. And they'll say, a month or two a year. I said, a month or two a year? Wouldn't you think 6 months would be the minimum amount of time something would have to have water in it per year to be able to qualify as a stream? James Buchal running for the top law job in the state of Oregon. And you've been working on fish issues and everything else, and now you'd like a different job. Why don't you give yourself a plug today?
Oh, well, I'm running for Attorney General because I think we have sort of a total death of common sense in this state, and we need to have people who exercise some judgment and discretion. We have people out there who are, spending millions of dollars on fish habitat improvement projects in these kind of streams that are dry or have no fish in them. I mean, we have craziness all over the place, and it's something that needs to be fixed. And one of the things you can do as Attorney General is when somebody comes in and says, well, this guy is an anti-government guy, and we want to prosecute him for having an illegal pond, and you look down there and you see there's 500 of these ponds all over, why are we singling him out? This just isn't fair. And there's a way in which, fairness and common sense are just gone now.
I would almost think, in fact, I said this the other day, but you tell me how well it would fit in the law. I said in a state like Oregon that has more rain than we want and sometimes is drier than we want, you'd almost think that the government would have policies that say anytime a citizen can figure out a way to hold some water back for later, whether it's for irrigation or whether it's for for firefighting, as this gentleman has said, or whether it's for recreation, to have a pond full of fish, as long as he's not interrupting in any significant way other people's ability to use water in streams and rivers. Why would that be a problem? You'd almost think that, all these enviros who want to be nice to, the bunny huggers, you'd think that if you said, well, I'm going to put stock ponds all over and capture a relatively small quantity of water that'll be hugely significant when the bunnies come along to drink from it, or coyotes, whatever.
Well, that makes too much sense, Lars. I mean, in fact, what you have is, I think that dams, just you use the word dams in the presence of any environmentalist, and they automatically regard it as the rape of the earth and something that must be prevented at all costs, whether it makes any sense or not.
Anything artificial. I mean, if you put a board across a ditch and hold a little bit of the water back, and yet, in practical terms, while these people oppose this, once that little piece of the ditch is filled up, the rest of the water spills over the top. Isn't the wildlife going to love having a little source of water a few inches deep?
Oh yeah, I mean it's well known that you have greater more fish mass and biology in lakes and reservoirs than you do in a running river, and I mean it's simple mathematics that it holds more water, it catches more solar energy, it grows more plankton. If you want more life on Earth, you would have more ponds.
No, and I just think that there are great opportunities out there. But you just remember, James, I mean, I was talking to a gentleman at the Deschutes County Fair last week who's running for state rep and, running for re-election. And he said, look, I had a bill that would have expanded the amount of irrigation out of the Columbia River within all the limits that are set between the states of Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. We're well under our portion or our share of the river. We could take out, some more acre feet of water and irrigate 100,000 acres. He said they chipped that all the way down to 30,000 acres, and then they killed the bill altogether, saying, we're not interested in pulling more water out even when there's more of it than we need.
Well, there's a cabal of high-level officials, including the governor himself, who've been on a jihad for years concerning the Columbia River, trying to tear out the Snake River dams, trying to tear out John Day Dam, trying to put all the irrigators out of business out there. And it's really an appalling situation. And the sort of the way they've stretched the laws and stretched the facts. And I can remember sitting with a guy who's now a Multnomah County Circuit judge, and they're presenting evidence on how on the water and the salmon and how the salmon are all extinct. And we take a close look at the state's computer model for this, and we discover that if there's more fish, it shows the risk of extinction is higher.
Why?
And we question this guy, and it's like he's got no explanation for it. And I tell you what, if I were the Attorney General and I have people coming to me with evidence like that, we're not going to stand up in court with that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just crazy.
James Buchal is running for Attorney General of the state of Oregon. I think you do a fine job, James. You've got my endorsement, even though I'm not an Oregon voter. But one last thing. Do you know that what the governor has said, this current governor that's been chosen 3 times, you know what he says his favorite book is?
No.
I'm not kidding. Dead serious. John Kitzhaber said his favorite book is The Monkey Wrench Gang by Edward Abbey, which is about a bunch of eco-terrorists who run around destroying things. So when you elect a guy like that and then you don't have natural resource jobs, hey, you voted for him. You chose your fate. James, good luck. We'll have you on again many times between now and November.
Thanks a lot.
You betcha.